Washington Avenue Parking Benefit District Advisory Committee. This meeting will be recorded. So thank you all for joining today. Again, my name is Maria Irshad with Park Houston, and we've got some Melanie Curry and Kelly Frazier from the Park Houston team. Y'all can all see my screen, correct? So on the agenda today, we'll take roll call. Melanie, you'll note the roll call, please, of the three attendees. We've made quorum. We're going to do approval of the minutes. We'll talk about the WOW roundabout. I'll give you all the meter update, the meter parking update for August, and then we'll have public comments and an open forum, and we'll adjourn the meeting. So with that, did y'all have a chance to review the minutes from the August 22nd meeting? And if so, do I have a motion to approve, or do we need to make any edits?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sharon. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Thank you. So the main purpose of today's meeting is we didn't want to slow down our work on the WOW roundabout that we discussed at the last meeting with you. There has been, there's two signs there that need to be redone. And we also have the insurance company on the hook for one of those signs. And the advisory committee had expressed interest in funding that so that we could, you know, get the money back from the insurance company and whatnot. So what we've done, thank you to the community that had done the original quotes. We went out and sought some more quotes on our own, which I sent to you last week, and I don't have them to share on the screen with me, but the max, I believe, was about, remind me, was it 26,000 or was it 20,000? Melanie, do you remember?
It was 27, I believe.
Yeah, 27,000 was the max. The other was, I think, about 13 or 14, but the way it works, once we bid it out in our procurement process, there are things that the city will ask of these vendors because they're working in the public right of way regarding permits, their insurance requirements and whatnot. The cost is typically going to be on the higher end compared to some of the lower costs that we did see, because we did see some quotes that were for $2,000, but my gut tells me that we are looking at much more than that, because once they take it down, they might, find some foundation issues or whatnot. So I sent those two quotes. At this point, we don't have a vendor. We still have to go through the procurement process from the city, and I don't know what the exact cost is going to be. So per our last meeting, we decided that we would get some quotes and then regroup so that the advisory committee can look at a potential agreed upon amount that they would vote on so that we can continue moving forward in the process. So what my recommendation is that as a committee, we approve an amount not to exceed $35,000 for the complete rehab and repair of both of these signs, with the caveat that one of those will be reimbursed by the insurance company per the information that we've already received, and the legal department has confirmed that they will seek that reimbursement. So what that means is the Washington Avenue Parking Benefit District revenues, we will use 35,000. Let's say it goes up to 35,000 to repair both of the signs. Once we seek reimbursement back and receive it from the insurance company, the Parking Benefit District bank account will be reimbursed that amount. And then the other half will go towards the Woodcrest sign, which we will not have reimbursement for because we don't know who damaged that sign. So that being said, I wanted an opportunity to kind of discuss it, address any concerns. If you guys have any questions regarding the process on moving forward, or any concerns with the amount, I'm estimating the project revenues that the Washington bank account would take on probably in about the $15,000 range for that one sign, with the rest being recovered for the Crestwood sign. So with that, I'd like to open the floor. If any of the advisory committee members have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at this point.
Yeah, I think we were clear the last time we met that we were all in agreement with moving forward with this. So, this is just a process that's going to be managed by, I'm assuming your group there, Maria.
Norman Holt, who is the meter operations division manager, is the one working on this project. So
Okay, so I mean, really, all that's left for us to do is really just take a vote to either encumber the $35,000 or appropriate the money, however we officially do that at the city. But I don't have any discussion on this. I don't know, Sharon, do you have any concerns about this?
No, not right now.
I mean, at the end of the day, it probably costs us no more than 20 grand to get all this done with the unknowns that we don't, the unknowns that we don't know. So
Right.
I'm happy to make a motion to encumber or appropriate the $35,000 so that we can start moving this project forward.
All right.
Have we decided who's going to do it yet?
So we have to go through the city procurement process. And typically when we go through a procurement, it is lowest bid.
Okay.
So that's
10,000.
well, there are a lot of circumstances that come up with construction because they give us really low quotes sometimes to try and get change orders later on. So we do want to be cautious of that. But if I have a motion to approve the appropriation of $35,000 to repair both signs, with one of the signs to be reimbursed by the insurance company that Mark made, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sharon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Keith. All right, motion passes. Thank you all. So our next step will be to put the invitation out for bid with our procurement department. We don't have a lot of control over the timing on that. There are a lot of people in the city buying stuff day in, day out. As soon as we get a tentative timeline, I will share that with you via email. If I get it before the next meeting, if we don't hear back anything, I will try and have an update to you before our next meeting. But thank you for the vote. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next agenda item if there are no more questions.
So is it feasible that construction would start this year, do you think? I mean, procurement process, is that couple weeks, couple months?
So it just depends on what's going on with the procurement department. We have one centralized procurement department that services all 22 departments. And we just have to wait in a queue kind of until a buyer gets to our item. So it's hard to say how long it can take. It can take 6 weeks. I've seen things take a year. But it just depends on how complicated it is.
Okay.
So hopefully we can get ours done sooner rather than later as an invitation to bid with a very detailed kind of line item request. But I really can't tell you what the timeline would be until I give the information to procurement and they look at it.
Okay, so how can I stay informed as to any progress on that? Well, Maria, can you send me emails or something if any progress is made?
Just feel free to reach out to me. You have my email information when you want an update. I will try and keep you as informed as possible. We have a monthly meeting. You're welcome to attend our advisory committee meeting because we'll be providing updates on this because it's one of their projects moving forward.
Sure.
So the public agenda is posted online out on our website for the advisory committee. And Melanie, can you share that link in the chat for our webpage so that she can keep track of that? But, if you have questions, shoot me an email. I'm happy to keep you in the loop.
Okay, I'll put on my calendar to email you maybe once a month, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right. So for our financial update on meter transactions, we had around 4,000 for the month of August and about almost $24,000 in meter revenue. Your average transaction is still about $580, so in the same range that we've seen. We did write 373 expired meter citations. Our night shift is kind of filling back up, so we're making some progress there. That's some they are doing a lot of towing, and I think that might be on the next slide, not this slide. This is the Washington Avenue pro forma, the model that kind of predicts what we'll see in the bank balance at the end of fiscal year 2024, and I've got my cursor right here. So what our model is predicting is that at the end of this fiscal year, we're going to have about $207,000 in gross meter revenue, plus some permit revenue is very low. It's like $105. We did look at converting a lot of those spaces to meters, but there still are a few permit zones that were actually being used, so we didn't take them away just yet. What that would mean is at the end of the year, the PBD is going to bank about $124,000, almost $125,000 in revenue. Now, this is a prediction model, so it changes as we add more real data to the model. For our parking compliance, we are doing about 340 citations a month, and you're seeing about 4,300 meter transactions. So meter transactions has gone up a little bit. Citations has dipped down a little bit, but that was, again, we had some HR hiring issues, but that's, I think, kind of resolved for the time being. For July and August, we did 105 tows in the area relative to RPP. We still have 1 month left there, but it looks like we're doing about, on average, the same. So this is the PBD budget. We will update this for our next meeting to include the encumbrance of $35,000 under projects. Right now, the Washington PBD has a budget at the end of FY23, which was June 30th. We had banked $279,000. Now here the projected revenue is showing 119. This is our internal numbers, not based on the model. What we look at, it's a little different. We have budgeted $90,000 for projects for this fiscal year. Now 30 is the flock cameras, which we'll have to pay. And then we have 50 for a project and 10,000 for miscellaneous. So your 35 that we just voted on today will be coming out of this. So your numbers really are not going to change since we already kind of included in the budget. But at the end of FY24, if there are no further projects, we expect to see close to $400,000 in the Washington PBD bank account.
So, Maria, so that $50,000 that we have earmarked in 2024,
yeah,
we had earmarked that last year for HPD overtime or security within the corridor. Is I'm assuming that's still earmarked for that if we chose to spend it in the future?
Yes.
So
yeah.
We wouldn't have to vote on spending that money if we wanted to hire some security. I mean, right now, Abby has, well, actually the HPD has received a grant from the federal government to do what we were using some of those funds for. So I'm happy to keep it there, but I think what you're going to add is a line item here that shows that we've also encumbered $35,000 for the repair and restoration of the traffic circle signs, correct?
Correct. And I'm trying to recall how much the PBD voted on to spend on the HPD.
It was 50. It was 50. It was 50 grand. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then we'll have to update this. I'm sorry. I thought it was lower amount for some reason. We'll have to update this to have that as a line item.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, that brings me to the end of my agenda. Now the floor is open. If there are any other comments or concerns or things that we need to look at or things that you'd like to see at our next meeting, happy to hear that from you now.
Keith, you want to take this or do you want me to take it?
You're good, Mark.
Okay. One of the things that we would also like to consider, I know we've talked about, I received a very vague proposal from the artist about the restoration of those two sculptures.
Mhm.
And it's so vague that I'm not even gonna pass it along because there's really no detail. It's just one big number. And it's a little bit insulting to me. But one of the things that we have uncovered now that we've started looking at this is, and I got my hands on some keys that could actually get us into the utility box to understand kind of what's behind the curtain in terms of what's there.
Okay.
But in talking with a gentleman who lives in Woodcrest, who is in kind of the lighting business, he's taken a look at it, and one of the things that we don't know, and this is, I assume what's happened here is when the wall roundabout folded and they turned back all of they turned basically everything back over to the city. The city turned the power and the water off, and that was it. So what we don't know right now is the extent to which any of that equipment works. And so in order to figure that out, the first thing that we're going to have to do, and this is something that Brad was looking into, is, there's a utility meter there. And so the first thing that we're going to have to do to even figure out what it's going to take to consider the repair of this thing is get power turned on so that we can understand what equipment works, understand, the continuity of the data cables, understand, if there's a lot that we don't know that we're never going to know until we get power turned on and get somebody to go out and do some work.
Right.
In that vein, it's going to cost somebody, it's going to, somebody's going to want to look to get somewhat reimbursed for some of the work to just discover what is it really going to take to fix this. Because my proposal, if you will, was basically a replacement of everything that had been installed 10 years ago. Well, we don't know if we need to do all of that or some of that or what we need to do. But I think in the same vein as, encumbering some money to repair the signs, I would like for us to at least consider, setting aside, 5,000, 7,500 bucks for somebody to draw against, if you will, so that we can figure out what it's going to take to get this repaired. There's things like, and this is going to get down to issues in working in the right of way again, right? I mean, there's some lights at the globes at the top of this thing that are busted. There's, somebody's going to have to rent a, bucket truck to go up and figure out what do we have and what's going on. So, and that's going to take money, and it's going to take somebody's time, and to run continuity, you're going to have a couple of people out there at the structure versus the box. And so, I'm not necessarily advocating for one particular person to do the work. What I am saying is, I think in order for us to make an educated decision about, is this, something that we want to invest money in going forward, we're going to have to spend a little money on the front end to figure out what it is we're dealing with. And it's not just a proposal that says replace everything that we did 10 years ago.
Right.
That cost is about 40 grand, and the proposal that I got from the artist was for about $150,000. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to go back and what I'm going to have a conversation with that guy, because like I said, the guy that I was talking to this past weekend, the artist is like, well, we need to polish the stainless steel. There's all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And we can probably take this in stages. The first thing we need to do is just get the thing operational, get the lights working. If we want to come back in on the back end and polish it in another year, that's a completely separate issue. But but the point that I'm trying to make is we're going to have to spend, unlike the Woodcrest signs. I mean, we can get people to come out and give us an estimate. We can't really take an estimate here, a really true estimate, until we can get the thing operational and understand what works and what doesn't. So, this guy, Brad, he was going to look into, he took the ESIN number or whatever off the back of the meter. He was going to call Centerpoint today to understand, is that a commercial account? Can that be put in a residential name? Can that be put in the Rice Military Civic Club's name? How can we get power operational so we can begin to at least troubleshoot what's going on?
Okay.
And so I'd like for us to at least consider setting aside a little bit of money out there so that somebody can go do that diagnostic work so that we can make a decision about whether this is something we want to invest in going forward. Because without that work, we're just never going to know.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to just set aside 10 grand because we don't know. That's money that somebody can help us, assist us in diagnosing what the true problem of what's going on out there is. Because like I said, my guess is when this thing folded, they just shut the power and the water off. It might work. There might be portions of it that work. We just don't know. And so we're going to have to get a utility account. That's going to have to be in somebody's name. You know, I'm happy for it to be in the Rice Military Civic Club's name. Is it a commercial account, a residential account, or an other? I don't, you know, there's just things that we don't know. So I'm just making a motion to set aside 10 grand so we can figure out, or it's something that somebody can draw against as we figure out what's going on with those two structures.
That's what it worked before. I mean, who was paying for the lighting and the water before?
The nonprofit, the wall roundabout. So they took all that on and they operated it for about 7 years, and then that folded. And when that folded, everything ended up back at the city, and the city was not going to pay for the water and the electricity to continue the operation of that. I mean, because there's a whole other issue here too, right? Which is they invested a significant sum of money into landscaping. So there's a whole landscaping box over there that may run irrigation systems over there and may not. You know, it's my understanding that Sherry Wiesner with the TERS is looking to invest in some landscaping down at the traffic circle with the agreement that Greystar will maintain that investment in that landscape. Well, one of the things that we're going to have to get going is the water. Now, do we need to pay for that? Maybe not. Maybe that's a TERS issue. But there's so much stuff that's been turned off down there. We just don't know what works. And so given that we're looking at the lighting, I think the first thing we should do is figure out a way to turn the power on and just kind of, you know, give somebody a small approval to go out and troubleshoot. Because we just don't know.
Okay. So we have a motion to set aside 10,000, an amount not to exceed 10,000 to $10,000 to review and kind of appraise what's going on with the lights at the WOW roundabout. Is there a second?
A second. Second and a third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. We will put that in the minutes. Now, one thing, you know, in order to move forward with this is again something else that we're going to have to bid out, because if it's over $3,000, we have to bid it out no matter what. So we'll have to kind of write a scope of what we're looking to do. So if there is
if the cost to investigate is more than $3 grand, then we have to bid it out.
correct.
Now, if somebody came in and gave us a proposal that said for $2,500, I'm willing to go do this, is that something that we can approve and that those funds can be paid to somebody?
We do not have to bid in those particular
Okay,
items.
because I don't know what this is going to cost, but once again, some entity is going to have to pick up the cost of the electricity. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that is going to be the city, if that can be the city, or like I said, I'm a nonprofit, no different than the WA roundabout was. You know,
Right.
I could pick up the expense, you know, as long as there's an agreement that the Civic Club gets reimbursed. Or somebody individually. I mean, I just don't know how this is going to work. But what you're saying.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do we need a permit
Right.
to rent a lift to go to the top of that thing?
If you're in the public right away, there's going to be some kind of permit that's required. I'm not sure what those exact permits are, but yeah, if you go out there and do it without a permit, you'll get shut down if an inspector comes by and sees. Now we have meters that run on electric, so we have meters, electric meters tied to some of our parking meters. So that's something that once this your neighbor who's looking into the ESIN, if you want to connect them with me, and then we'll try and figure out how to move forward with the electric over there. That's something that we could probably look at doing and then get reimbursed by the advisory committee for that electric. That might be the easiest way to do it, because then you don't have to send a check to anyone. You just kind of reimburse our
Yeah, it's
account.
the moving funds
transfer.
around.
Right.
And that's fine. And I can't imagine that the expense is going to be more than, 20 or, I mean, it's not like you're going to turn it on and run it. We just got to be able to turn it on so we can understand what the problems are.
Right. So if you want to connect them with me, we can look at how to get that done, and we can definitely get it turned on to see what's going on. I'm sorry, Keith, you were saying something?
So from a liability perspective, should we have a contractor to go and test the electrical, what documentation do we need from them on a minimum liability policy to be able to do this estimate? Because if you take a key and you open the box,
Yeah.
and you touch the pole and it happens to be electrified and you're electrocuted and he doesn't have insurance. So what do we need to do on the front end to be able to get an estimate to fix this thing? From an
I don't
insurance
know, but we
perspective,
can ask.
because I would hate to see a situation to where we have a contractor who is fiddling with the equipment. This person gets electrocuted. He doesn't have sufficient insurance, and we got a big mess on our hands because we didn't ask this question on the front end.
So I think what might be the best path in that is, let me talk to my team over here that's already worked with getting electric out in the field. And it might be that we get the folks who do our electrical work to look at it, because they're already approved by the city. They know what the process is. It may be that we need to get that done instead of someone else coming out and checking at it. So looking at that. So I think first we've got to figure out the meter, what's going on with it. And then once we understand what's going on with it, then it might be that we send out the folks who do our electric and work at our parking meters and whatnot, because they know the situation. So let me work on those two things. I'll try and get those, at least figure out how we get power to it before our next meeting, and then hopefully have either the electric looked at or in process of being checked out, if that is okay with y'all.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, like I said, first thing we got to do is turn the power on.
Right. Yeah.
Before we can answer any of these questions.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So we will, I'll look for, Mark, an email from you with the gentleman that, or the woman or the gentleman that you're working with.
Yep.
On that ESIN.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Anything
And
else?
I'll touch base with him later today to see if he heard anything back from Centerpoint. So
Okay.
about what it's going to take. So,
Okay.
but it might be just as simple to run it through the city.
Okay. With that, I'm going to move on to public comments. And Michelle, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, this is a kind of an odd thing I'm asking. About 10 days ago, a new business opened up on Washington Avenue, right across from Camp Logan, called Car Body Club, across from, if anyone knows where the old Bubba's was. And they're just parking a lot of cars there. And this business is maybe in the business of auto sales, body shop, auto repair, tinting, storage, lots of things. I don't know whether or not it is violating any City of Houston ordinances regarding auto businesses. I think it might be. I think they're supposed to at least have an 8-foot fence around the whole thing. There's one section in the ordinances that says that an auto storage yard cannot be within 300 feet of a residence, and it is. Do you guys know anyone whom I can reach out to in City of Houston who is familiar with businesses that might be operating before they have the proper permits and before they are adhering to all the ordinances. I've reached out to Randy Zamora. I sent him an email this morning, to Abby Kamen's office, to Officer Vieira, who is the Camp Logan liaison. She visited this guy who said, I'm in the process of getting my permits. Well, how can you operate a business before you have the permits? I thought you had to get the permits first and then put up a shingle saying you're in business. And I just need someone to know on the automotive side of the City of Houston ordinances, who's a good person to contact. I also sent a 311 ticket because I think they're probably violating sign ordinances. They just hung up a couple banners at the side of a building. Any ideas who?
Yeah, we'll send it over to HPD Auto Dealers. It's HPD Auto Dealers. Sergeant Provost, Michael Provost is the lead over that group. So I'll send it to him. I saw that too. And I had questions about it, so you reminded me. Thank you.
Okay, you saw the business?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. We're pretty not pleased by that kind of a business being so close. And there is this prohibition on auto storage places being within 300 feet of a residence, and the closest residence is 178 feet away.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the rules are, but Sergeant Provost and his team can look into it. So I'll send him an email today and ask them to check it out.
Well, there could be permitting issues through ARA as well that they're not in compliance with, which, you
What's
know.
ARA?
That's our department, Administration of Regulatory Affairs. Most likely they're with Public Works in the code.
Okay.
Code group is for their permits, or it could be with HPD. HPD kind of administers and regulates the auto dealers.
Okay.
So I will send it over to Sergeant Provost, and when I hear something back, I'll forward that on to you and the committee to take a look at.
Yeah, like I said, I reached out to our Camp Logan officer liaison, Vieira, and she just went over there and said, oh, the guy's in the process of getting his permits. I don't know if she was that familiar with this whole long laundry list.
She's probably DRT, so auto dealers is pretty specialized, and let us send it to them.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I would comment that I don't think it matters that they're an auto dealer. What I heard you say is there is a business operating without a permit.
Yes, that's what I hear.
Yeah, but I don't know what kind of permit they even need. Is it storage? Is it repair? Yeah.
Well, they would need they would need all kind of permits. But irrespective of what the business is, you need a permit to operate a business in the city of Houston. And if you don't have a permit, that you need to shut down, whether it's a auto dealer, medical, whatever.
I think the guy has another location, and maybe he has a permit for the other location on Washington, but I don't know if he has a permit for this location. And that's also, I think, permit first, turn the lights on second.
Yes.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Do I have any other comments, concerns, questions? I don't see anyone else from the public online, so. All right, with that, I will ask if we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Who wants to make the meeting longer? All right. Thank you all so much for today. It was very productive 30 minutes. I appreciate y'all gathering so quickly so that we can keep the progress that we made on this. And I will see you at our next meeting. I believe the date, I don't remember the date. 17th. October 17th. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right. Y'all have a great week. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.